just where are the Celtics with 8 games to go in the regular season? My name is Mike Petraglia, joined by Josue Pavone and Jimmy Toscano.
Right. What's up?
Are you guys concerned?
Yeah, I think you have to be concerned. And I feel like I'm a broken record. I've probably started like 40 of these videos saying the same thing, but it's true. I mean, the Celtics, or at least Kyrie Irving, seems to think that they can just flip a switch. Yeah. But Danny Ainge has even come out and said that it doesn't work that way, and I don't feel like it works like that way. You have to build good habits. The Spurs in the locker room were talking about how they're trending in the right direction. They're starting to feel good about where they are going into what's going to be a very hard-fought, Western Conference playoff. So I don't think the Celtics are there yet, and I think that you have to be concerned with what you saw Sunday night because they just looked lethargic, slow, no energy, and just flat.
So that's something, by the way, guys, that's something that Kyrie Irving acknowledged after their latest blowout loss to the San Antonio Spurs. He said, look, we have to find a way to find the energy, but I'm confident we will. We'll get our crap together, and it'll all...
He's saying that, though.
Yeah, I know. And what else is he going to say, though?
Until you're blue in the face, but what are you going to say at Game 82?
Right, and you also have Brad Stevens now sort of making excuses for him. Oh, he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and, he's been through this before and all that stuff. But sometimes it makes you wonder, where exactly does he stand with Brad Stevens and the Celtics? Or at least maybe from the outside looking in, you saw what his body language. 2 seats away from the Celtics huddle, 17 seconds left to go, leaves the bench. I mean, how does that translate? How does that resonate? He did leave early. Wow. How does that resonate with the rest of his teammates? When things are going good or going well, you saw what happened in California. Everyone is laughing, and you see a whole different dynamic,
plane
different
ride,
attitude.
Obviously.
And then I get to need another plane ride because now things are tough. All of a sudden, we're seeing that same team, the same attitude, the same body language from Kyrie Irving that we saw a week before the trip to California.
Right. Brad Stevens said this earlier, maybe a couple weeks ago. He said this specific team has not been good at leaving the loss behind and going forward. They
resonates with them.
They tend to hang on to things. And I mean, to second your point about Kyrie, I mean, in between the third and fourth quarter, he's not in the huddle with the team. He's on the bench. At one point in the fourth quarter, he's on the bench again. He's not in the huddle. So it's that leadership that you're really trying to see out of him. And you can't be a fair weather leader. You have to be there in the good times. And you have to be there in the bad times.
Two months ago, I asked Brad Stevens before a game, midweek, I said, last year, this team could take a punch inside a game and respond. This Celtics team can't take a punch outside the game, and it seems like you said, if they lose a game, a bad game, like they did Saturday night in Charlotte, it sticks with them the following night here at home against San Antonio.
Yeah, and I assume everyone watching knows it by now, but the Celtics were in a meeting, essentially, even though they wouldn't call it a meeting.
They wouldn't call it, but
very clear to not call it a meeting.
Exactly what it was.
Call it a meeting.
Closed doors for 38 minutes after the game ended. Yes.
There you have it. I mean, Brad Stevens was really slow to come out, so obviously he was part of that conversation. Then it kept going, I think, once he left.
This Garden Report is brought to you by the great friends at betonline.ag. Go to clnsmedia.com/win and use the promo code CLNS50 for a cashback bonus on your first deposit. Guys, don't look now, and I'm not saying the Detroit Pistons are going to catch them for the number 5 spot, but they're not going to catch the number 4 Indiana Pacers because Indiana was able to do what the Celtics did last year, beat up on a good Denver team without their star player and Victor Oladipo, and now they're 2.5 games behind the Indiana Pacers. And you got to start wondering that this Celtics team just doesn't have that drive, that desire.
Well, you have those 2 games against the Pacers, and I know we've been saying this for weeks now, or at least I've been saying it for weeks, but I still think the Celtics could beat them twice. I know there's 1 game at home, 1 game over there. All of a sudden, you snap that lead to half a game, and you have to hope that the Celtics can win against teams like the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic, I feel like, are coming up. And then you have, of course, a tough game, which I think is going to be a tough game because we saw what happened last time they went to Brooklyn against the Nets this upcoming Friday. So there are some winnable games, some not so winnable games. But, I mean, granted, those 2 games against the Pacers do give them a really legitimate shot to catch Indiana.
One thing I want to say, and Jimmy, chime in on this.
Sure.
It's also dangerous to judge this team, this Celtics team, on what they're going to be in the playoffs when you see them against San Antonio without Hal Horford and without Jason Tatum. Look, people are going to say, oh, Trag, stop making excuses for the Celtics. But facts are facts. You don't have, arguably, 2 of your top 3 defenders on the floor against the Spurs, especially Horford on Aldridge. That's what's going to happen.
And that was the first thing Greg Popovich said after the game was, speaking to reporters, he said that, they didn't have 2 of their best players tonight. So, yeah, we won by 20 or whatever it was. But let's be real, they're going to be a different team in the playoffs like that. That being said, you still have to compete. You still have to play with energy, and somebody has to step up in those players' absence. They've won without stars before they can do it again.
Are the Celtics going to find urgency before the end of the season?